everybody. So nice to have you all here again. Welcome to the Inspire Me series. This is the third we've had. We've had two last week, and this is the first of the week so far. So we're interviewing inspiring figures who graduated from UE and formed ambitious, inclusive, innovative, and enterprising paths. So it's really exciting. This is a chance for you to be inspired, whether you're at the beginning or the middle, or maybe coming towards the end of your journey at UE. I'm Molly Rose Crossley. I'm a third-year media production student on the journalism pathway. So I was really excited to take up this opportunity to meet all these amazing people. So how this event is going to run, like I said, it's not compulsory. You're not here, you're not necessarily getting marked or anything like that. Everyone is invited. So we're going to run about a 20-minute, usually 25 because I ramble, interview, and then there'll be time at the end to have all your questions answered. If you can pop your questions in the Q&A box, the events team can go through them and take out any repetition or anything like that. The chat box is purely for the events team, so we'll be putting like links to Keri's work in there and all of that kind of stuff, and any chat announcements. If there's any technical glitches, that'll all go in the chat. So yeah, if you pop your questions throughout the chat in the Q&A box, we'll come to those at the end. So just a little note to say also, there's no My Attendance code. In case you were waiting for one, there isn't one of those. And it will all be recorded and posted on the library website, maybe about a week's time, just to get all the tech all nice and slick and make sure everything's looking gorgeous. So now we're going to get on with the bit that you're all here for and introduce our wonderful speaker today. I'm super excited about this one. So we have let's just process this, multi-award winning handbag designer. Like, that means more than one. That's amazing. Multi-award winning handbag designer, Keri Andriana. She is the CEO and founder of UK affordable luxury handbag brand, Amschela. Keri initially started her career as a lawyer in the areas of criminal and prison law, before ending her 15-year legal career as an adjudicating judge in 2016 to enter the fashion industry. I mean, that's amazing. Since launching the brand in 2017, Keri has steered the brand to become a recognized celebrity favorite, and her brand has appeared at London Fashion Week, which you just mentioned, you've just had, and the BAFTAs, and made its way to numerous high-end magazines featuring Vanity Fair, Tatler, British GQ, and British Vogue. Keri holds several award titles and nominations, including Entrepreneur of the Year, Business of the Year, and a past nominee for the Great British Entrepreneur Award and the British Small Business Award. The brand is a 3x London Fashion Week designer brand with selections in 2019, 20, and 21. I haven't finished, there's more to go. In 2020, the brand was made a designer member of the British Fashion Council, and Keri herself was a nominee at the 2020 Fashion Awards. Keri also served as a judge for the 2021 London Fashion Film Festival. Keri is currently embarked on a mission to transition her brand to a full vegan brand, and is a member of the SME Climate Hub, where she promotes sustainable and circular business models in fashion, transparency, and traceability through the production and manufacturing lines of fashion houses, including her own. I know lots of people are going to be interested in hearing more about that. In her spare time, Keri enjoys working with disadvantaged young people seeking to enter the fashion industry, and provides valued mentoring and internships either within the brand or as a personal development coach. Oh my God, Keri, like, you've done so much. It's so exciting. Amazing. So I've been asking everyone the first question. Everyone's had the same first question. We want to start at the beginning. Have you always been interested in fashion? And do you have any early memories that influenced this path?
Yeah, I was just listening to you describe me just then. I almost didn't recognize myself.
It's all you, baby. It's all you.
Yes, to answer your question, I always had an interest in bags in particular. My grandmother was a seamstress, so I used to stay with my grandmother and grandparents a lot. And my grandmother used to make clothes, and I think I was a noisy child because she used to always give me her handbags to play with. And I was about 6 and 7 years old. And I just became fascinated. Different styles, different shapes, different interiors. And she always had a bag for every outfit. And I just became, really kind of entrenched in how they were made. So that started about the age of 6, 7. But I never thought of it as a career. I always wanted to be a lawyer, always. But I used to make bags in my spare time, just for something to do or for friends, and myself. And then I think once I left my legal career in 2016, it was just like, what do I do next type of thing. And, I have 2 children, 2 boys, and one of them said, you're always making bags. Why don't you, do a handbag company? And just went from there, really.
I love that. So you have these early memories of your grandma having, you said, a handbag for every outfit.
Every outfit.
That's just so amazing. Are there any particular ones that you remember?
Yeah, she had this amazing silk Louis Vuitton bag that she had saved up for, I think, about 2 years to buy. She never wore it. It was always like I was always remember like a little casing bag. But every now and then she would take it out and show me, and it was just amazing. I just became really fascinated that, if you have the idea of a bag, but it can be so many different things and so many different people, the way you use it, the way you wear it, what its purpose is for, colors and trends. And it was just one of those things I just used to like to just do. But I think through my legal career, it was almost like just some downtime. It was so different from the legal profession. I could just sit around, endorse myself in loads of material and sketching and things like that. So it just was really a hobby for many, many, many years as I was growing up.
Amazing. And so, like you said, you stuck with being a lawyer for 15 years. That's a long time. And as someone who's come to university later in life, I can completely relate to kind of how scary it is suddenly going, right, I'm going to change everything that I want to do now. What made you decide? Was there something that made you specifically decide, right, it's handbags now? Or was it a slow progression that made you change career?
I think throughout my legal career, I've had quite a varied career. So you're quite right. You said I started off in criminal law, ended up then specializing in prison law, working a lot with parole boards and things like that. And then I transitioned over to adjudicating on parole sentences and things like that. But throughout my career, I traveled a lot. So I'm originally from Bristol, and I'd gone from Bristol to Gloucester, to Birmingham, to London. I settled in London for about 7 years. And I think the company I was with at the time were then shifting, and they were moving up north. And it would have meant another move to Liverpool. And I just decided I don't want to travel anymore. I just done with it. I've just traveled for 15 years. I feel like a bit of a nomad. And my family are predominantly here in Bristol. So it was literally really a no-brainer, really, to take redundancy and just come home. And once I got home, it was then, well, what do I want to do? Do I want to go back into law and find another legal role, or do I want to do something different? And I just decided to kind of go for it. The initial plan was to see how it went for 6 months, launch some products, have an Instagram shop for 6 months. And then if that didn't work out, to go back to law, because a lot of my friends are still here in Bristol. They're still solicitors and barristers, or they work in the legal profession. So it was like, Keri, come back. And I was like, no, let me just try and see what happens. And yeah, the rest kind of is history.
Brilliant. So what was it that you specifically, so was it around that time you decided to then attend UWE?
No, so I went to UWE, oh my God, a long time ago, Molly.
Right.
A very, very long time ago, 2003 to 4. So I did my law degree at Bristol University. And then I came over to UWE to do my LPC, my legal practice course year. I think I was the first in the first year of students at the university that actually had done the LPC there because it never used to be done there. And then I did my 2-year legal practice with a law firm in Bristol, and then qualified after that. So yeah, a long time ago, but I had so much fun.
So I was going to say, yeah, so it wasn't fashion that you studied at UE, it was law. But do you find many of the skills that you picked up when you were a student, do they still transfer? I mean, you could have such far apart subjects, but are there things that you're like, man, yeah, I got this from that tutor, or the support staff or anything like that really kind of helps?
I mean, that's a really good question. And I've always said to people, when I look back now at the success that the brand has had, that I honestly don't think I could have done it without the skills I learned whilst I was practicing to study law. So, for example, at UE, we were taught, research skills, for example, how to work in a methodical manner, how to be logical, how to analyze, how to not know anything about a subject, but to be able to go off and research it and produce, 2,000-word dissertation, for example. So I'm how to be organized. So all of those skills are relevant to business. So I think the transition, even though people think, God, they're so different disciplines, law and then, fashion designer, but the actual entrenched disciplines and the transparency between the skills is practically the same. You need the same skills to do what I do now that I used when I was practicing.
That's amazing. That's really good. That's a really, really good piece of kind of advice, because a lot of people maybe go on to something else,
Right.
after university. But it doesn't mean that time has gone to waste, like you said, the discipline, research is in everything, like whether you want to do like fine art or medical something, research is such a huge part of that, and time management as well is huge as well.
Yeah, so all of those things combined, I think, and I'm very appreciative of, like, obviously the university. I'm so proud to be an alumni, and but those skills that would kind of, as a student, you think, oh my God, this is so laborious. Why do I have to do this? But I am telling you, to anyone listening, any of the students listening, those skills will stand you in good stead for whatever you want to do in later life. Because they're the skills of business.
Totally. No, that's really, really great. That's really, really great. So back to fashion, basically.
Right.
What was it like being a judge on the London Fashion Film Festival? Like, that is such a huge nod of recognition. What was that like? What was that experience like?
It was absolutely amazing. And I was so honored to be asked to be a judge. So I actually judged the accessory section. And I judged, trying to think now, 16 films for their accessory content. And it was quite in depth. And it was just a real great honor to, be viewed as somebody as having that type of expertise in such a short period of time, to come in and judge and critique. And it was a really fun experience. Obviously, I got to watch loads of films as well. But that was a huge honor. I was also asked to do it for 2022, but I was unable to. But it's something that hopefully I will be able to get back to. We've developed a really good relationship now with the London Fashion Film Festival. But it was a really good insight into being able to transport yourself, I guess, into a different dimension and see how fashion is used. I mean, ordinarily, we just think of fashion as, whether it's bags or clothing or shoes, a product that's in a shop. And we don't really get to see how product is used on screen or in film and in movies, and how people interpret everything that kind of goes on in a setting. It's like, almost like, if I just was to use as an analogy, Emmerdale, for example, like the clothing that people wear, the bags that people are carrying, who picked that coat, how does that coat go with the theme? So it's looking at the longevity of the product beyond the sale of the product. So yeah, it was really good.
That's a really interesting way to look at it, because if something wasn't fitting in a setting, it takes you out of that moment, doesn't it? You know,
Yeah.
if a character in Emmerdale's a good example, suddenly was wearing stilettos on the farm, it would take you out of the moment because it's complete, you know, it's a really interesting way of looking at it. And do you bring the inspiration that you see at those kind of events back into your brand?
Well, I always look for inspiration. I mean, just going to the shop, sometimes I'm always looking at things. The way the leaves fall off a tree, for example, or brickwork, gates, doorways, shapes. So I always tend to be looking, everything is inspirational. And the good thing about fashion is that you can make anything fashion. And I think that's what I like. I think, like, obviously with a legal career, you are really kind of bound by the legislation and, you know, looking at legal principles that have gone on before and trying to navigate any case or judgment that you're doing within the perimeters. But I think with fashion, it's so open, it's so what you make it, really. And I think so the freeness of fashion is really what I like.
I love that. I love that. Not being restricted to certain ideas. And yeah, I love to say the falling of the leaves, and I'm looking out at my like autumn window right now, and that's so lovely. So why is it important to you to make your brand vegan?
Right, so we are actually vegan now. So we became full vegan on the 18th of February of this year, 2022, and we launched our full vegan range at London Fashion Week for February. So that was really good. I didn't think we'd make the deadline, if I'm honest. It went right up to the wire, but it was a 2-year transition. We started the transition literally just before the coronavirus pandemic happened. So it was very difficult to go through the whole process, and we wanted to do it properly. It was very important for my brand to do it properly. So we are a PETA approved vegan brand. And obviously with that, there are, you know, loads of stipulations and regulations and what we can use in materials and what we can't use. But I think the consumer nowadays, I think when you look at fast fashion, for example, and the toxicity levels and the harm to the environment just to be fashionable, I think it's looking at scaling it back. I would rather the brand produce less that doesn't hinder or harm the environment and doesn't leave at the end of its product life as well toxins that can either harm animals or the earth. So it was quite a long transition, but once we decided to do it, we just went for it. And so we had a 2-year period to do the whole transition. And so at some point we were a hybrid brand. So we still had a leather collection and we had introduced in the vegan collection slowly. So it kind of went like that. And then eventually we got rid of the last lot of leather products and we were able to launch the full vegan collection 2 months ahead of our deadline, but we brought it forward so that we could launch it at London Fashion Week. So that was the point that I thought, I don't know if we're going to be able to do this. But yeah, the team really pulled out all the stops. And so I just think it's important to say who we are and to stand on those principles. So as of today, we are 100% vegan brand.
That's incredible. And also said in the introduction, transparency. What exactly does that mean for you and your brand, the transparency?
Well, it means being able to, one, say who we are, two, refer to the materials that we're using and why we're using them, and looking at your supply chain as well. And obviously making sure that your manufacturers are also abiding by those principles, you know, clean air, principles of no child labor, fair wage, and looking at everyone in the process, not just the end product. So if you called Amschela the end product, but before the bag gets to us, obviously I design. We used to make the bags in-house. We don't do that a lot anymore because it's just, I wouldn't have enough time in the day. So, you know, it's when we started to look for a manufacturer, we had various stipulations. We wanted to manufacture in the UK. It's very important that Amschela remains a UK brand, it's a British brand. And then finding someone, a company that had those same principles as us. And so the whole chain is transparent. So ultimately the consumer can kind of look back on the journey of the bag before it became a bag. So when we're talking about transparency, that's what we're talking about.
Brilliant. Yeah, that's so important. How was the response? What's the response been like since you've kind of made this 100% change to vegan?
It's been really, really good. Obviously, we did lose some followers and some customers. We did, but that was a risk that we wanted to take. Obviously, ultimately, the decision lies with me, and I think, you know, not everyone, believe it or not, is interested in sustainability. There are some people that do want leather, they do want exotic skins, they do want to wear ostrich and crocodile and snake skins and all the rest of it. And that is fine. And there'll be a brand that will still sell those products that they can go to. But I think that if, as a brand identity point, it's my decision that we are a vegan brand. We don't promote products that are harmful to the earth, the environment, people, and even at their end of life. If they were to go to landfill, there are no toxins being released into the environment potentially. So there's a lot of things to consider, but yeah, you know, I wish them well. And obviously, you know, we're just not the brand for them.
I love that attitude as well, that there is another brand out there for you, but I'm not going to change my principles for you. And that's such a powerful message, because sometimes people will bend, you know, sometimes people might go, oh, maybe we'll do a few leather handbags, but you've gone, this is the path we need to take.
Yeah, and I think if you look at a lot of the brands, obviously we're an affordable luxury brand. So for those people that don't know what that means, so we sit under the high-end brands. If you're thinking of the amazing brands, which I still love all these brands, Gucci, Prada, Fendi, Valentino, the real high-end. So underneath that, you will have the then the top affordable luxury premium brands, where you have your Ted Bakers, Michael Kors, Dune, Aldi. And so Amschela, we kind of then sit literally a layer under there. So we are affordable luxury. And what we aim to do is to produce bags of a similar quality, has the high-end brands, but at affordable price points that are also sustainable. So it means that we've had to kind of scale back on the numbers that we produce, because obviously sustainable products are slightly more expensive because of the materials. The cost of the materials is quite high, but a lot of brands do the duality. So they will have a leather range and they will also have a vegan range. And I did toy with that idea for a while, but I still felt that wasn't who we were. So we decided to make the full change.
Right. Yeah. Makes total sense. And it's I think it's a really admirable thing to do as well. Like, not just sitting on the fence going, you know, leading with your principles and leading with what you believe in. And that also kind of leads us. So you're a part of the SME Climate Hub. Could you tell us a little bit about that? Like, what is that?
Right. So the government's introduced the race to net zero, and the SME Climate Hub is part of that infrastructure. So as a business, you sign up to be guided by their principles, and it's about transparency, sustainability, reducing your carbon footprint, and, you know, really committing your business. Is literally, I guess I would say, a place where you do the actual walk, not just talk the talk. And so by signing up to be a member, it means that we're also at the forefront of what sustainability and zero carbon actually means in terms of products and product development. And so again, there's another set of rules and principles that we signed up to abide by. So it's really cool. And I would encourage, if there's anyone here who has a business and you're really interested in, you know, the race to net zero, to contact the SME Climate Hub and, you know, sign up and see what they can do for your brand. And it's also helpful to have a government body that you can also go to for help. We're a young brand. We're still only 5 years old, who we can go to along our sustainable journey to net zero. So I think we've pledged to be fully zero carbon by I think it's 2035. So hopefully.
No, that's great. It's really great to hear that, you know, the whole sustainability kind of transparency is not just seen as a minority anymore. You've got yourselves, you've got these lovely luxury brands. It's not just the kind of funny little shop at the bottom of the road that sells all the incense sticks and stuff. You know, it's a luxury thing, and it's great that you're at the forefront of making that happen. That's fantastic. So just a little reminder, everyone who's listening, do get your questions in. I've got a few more myself, but really you guys are here to pick the brains of this amazing, inspirational, like I'm inspired. I'm like, wow, this is just fantastic. So yeah, get your questions into the question box, and then our events team scurrying away to get all those questions in. So a little thing that we said in the introduction as well is how you spend your spare time.
Right.
And it's not snuggling down and reading a book and putting your feet up. It's it's working with young disadvantaged people who want to enter the fashion industry. So either through mentoring and internships or as a personal development coach. How did you come across kind of like doing that? Is that with the brand itself, or is that you independently?
Both, but mainly with the brand. So initially what had happened was when the pandemic hit, it was, what was that, March 2020, I believe?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
There were a lot of students, fashion students, who were due to go on placements for that year, and a lot of them ended up being cancelled. So because my brand, we are currently online, so we work remotely for 4 days of the week. And so we started to get contacted by, students who, just wanted a placement or just wanted some advice on, did we have any space? People are often to come in and do volunteering and freelance, which is really important as well, because obviously the fashion industry by large requires you to have 1 year experience. So we ended up taking on and opening up the brand and taking on, I think it was that first year we took on four students throughout the summer, in areas of graphic design, fashion design, social media, and marketing. And that worked really well. And then we kind of just developed our own in-house program. So something I'm very passionate about. So since in the last 2 years, we have progressed 34 young people of various 3 months to 6 months, either it's freelance positions, volunteering. We were a Kickstart employee. We even take from the universities as well. Students will come in and we look at obviously the disciplines and where we can place them. And my hope is that by coming to the brand and getting real life experience, it helps them to meet that 1 year qualification period that they can then go out into, not that we're not the real world, but the real world. So I always almost call the brand like, yes, we're a business and we're a business for profit. We're a limited company, but we're also more than that. We are a vehicle of learning for young people. And I think in the fashion industry, people from outside of London, even if you've got a university degree or not, tend to get overlooked, because I think the premise is that, all luxury fashion brands, if they don't come from Paris or Spain or Italy, they come from London. And so by allowing young people from the Southwest to, make their journey through us, and we can help in any way we can. So it's something I'm very, very passionate about. So the only downside is when we're full and I don't have any space. And sometimes the young people don't want to leave at the end of their placement, but that's a good thing. But it's about opening the doors of access and, applying social mobility You know, social mobility isn't just for charities. There's a lot of work that businesses for profit and limited companies can also do. So I guess it's just reworking your business model in order to kind of accommodate what is kind of, I guess, seen as out of the norm, really. But yeah, I think when a lot of the young people I speak to or come through the brand, you know, they go for interviews and they're just not getting anywhere because of the lack of experience. So we are a British Fashion Council brand, so we're already at quite a good standard. And so if we can let the brand, you know, help as many people as we can, then surely a good thing, I think.
Definitely. And because you said it's all remote, so you can work with people all over the country.
Yeah, we can work with people. We do tend to stick to Bristol and the locality because we're a Bristol brand. Also, literally, we tend to more focus on people that are students within the Southwest area that cannot get to London. Because if you're a London student, for example, you've got more avenues to actually get experience. Where I think, you know, for a lot of students who are predominantly in the Southwest may not want to move to London or to undertake a placement. And it's a really fun culture. Like I said, you know, we're predominantly online, but we do have office days and we all get together. And you know, it's one of my highlights would have been a photography student that we took on for a 3-month placement. And the image that they took actually ended up in Hello magazine.
Wow, that's amazing.
Great. So that was really, so we've had some really good highlights or students doing London Fashion Week, for example, and participating in the preparation for that and actually attending the event. And we've had one of our students has left us, did marketing and now works for one of the big, like, you know, fashion houses. So it's really good that the training that we give is looked at as quite valued. So we're looking in the future to develop that some more.
What would you say are your 3 top characteristics you look for people when they come to you asking for experience?
I would say passion, to be very passionate. And I think I look for, how would I explain that? See, this might sound really strange. I don't really look at talent in terms of qualification wise, because I believe that talent can also be taught, right? So if you had someone who wants to be a graphic designer, for example, and they've never done it, you know, you could find a graphic design course to put them on. So I really look at the characteristics more of a person, their personality, what are they like working within a team, what values do they hold personally, to see whether they're going to be a good fit for the brand.
That's really interesting. Yeah, like you said, you can teach skills, but there are some things you can't teach.
Yeah, I more look on the humanitarian side of the person, you know, and to see whether they're going to be a good fit and whether their values that they personally hold align with the brand. That's more important to me, because I think, like I said, you can teach talent to a degree.
Perfect. Amazing. Right. So we have got some questions from the audience. So I'm going to start from the top. So here we go. What materials do you mainly use now and you no longer, what materials do you mainly use now that you no longer use leather? Sorry.
So we currently use a synthetic leather called polyethylene. Our recent collection has been wheat straw, recycled rubber. So on our website, you'll see a bag called the Runa. The RUNA is actually made from recycled rubber, which was from bicycle inner tubes. And we also use hemp.
Is that with the hemp more for the kind of softer bags, or can you make hemp? Yeah.
More for the softer bags. So we are looking at launching our signature collection next year. And we are also looking at developing our own sustainable material, but I can't tell you what we've chosen because that would be an exclusive. So
so you'll have to make sure that you follow follow Keri on all Amschela on all social medias and stuff. I'm pretty sure we've got all of those links in the chats and stuff. We'll talk about that at the end. That's really interesting. And you're transparent with the loops where you get those things as a part of your like you said, the inner tubes from the bikes and
yeah,
like
yeah. And that was a really good project to work on as well, because when people are finished with their bicycles, they usually like throw them away and throw the tires away, throw the inner tubes away. And we found a charity that literally was collecting them. And we just said, you know, could we have them? We wanted to sample them and see what we could do. And obviously sent them to our manufacturers. They then had to go for another process because to obviously take out the grease and the oil and stuff like that to make it you know, fully sustainable. And then obviously we had to run it by our regulators and stuff, and it came out really fine. And we were then able to, I think the Runa's in 2 colors, black and the lilac color, I believe, and then to use like low cost, you know, non-toxic dyes to get the color in. So I'm glad she turned out really well, because it was at some stage a harrowing process, but it's just one of those things that you know, you learn as you do it. And like I said, we're looking to develop our own sustainable fabric.
And you got to be patient with these processes, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Awesome. Were you afraid to pursue Amschela after being a lawyer for so long?
Terrified. Terrified. And I will tell you now, once we decided to do it and I drew up a business plan, we actually went on the road to secure investment at first, and you know, went off to the banks, and we were just refused by every bank. Refused us because it was like, you know, you've never run a business before, you've not been to handbag design school, how are you going to create a luxury brand? How are you going to do it? And I was like, I remember in one meeting, I said, look, I've got these bags here, I've made these bags, and we can do it. So we just decided to do it on our own eventually, but I was absolutely terrified. And especially because I don't come from the fashion background, and I don't have, or at that time, I had no connections to the fashion industry.
Oh, Keri, you've just gone on mute for a second. Oh, what's happened? Oh, there we go. We're back. So we lost you on. You had no connections with the fashion industry, and the banks were turning you away.
Yeah, I had none. So it was very. I guess we went into it blindly.
But you felt that fear anyway and kept going.
Yeah, I think sometimes you have to. I think if you really are passionate, going back to the word passion, and you believe in something, I think there's nothing worse than saying, I wish I had done that. I'm a firm believer in thinking you should do something, wanting to do it, and just doing it. What's the worst that can happen?
Yeah, you're totally right. You're totally right, and you're proof that actually riding out that fear, you know, is worth it in the long run. You know, otherwise you can be stuck doing what feels safe.
Yeah.
You know. Do you think it's harder to run a fashion business from Bristol than it would be in London? It's a good question.
Very good question. I think it's easier for me because we're not so caught up in the fashion politics. And so by being outside of the fashion city, we are able to, I think more creatively and try new things and focus more on the brand and who we are. Obviously I go to London quite a lot still for events and meetings and things, but I think that we've shown that you can run a very successful luxury fashion business that is not in the, you know, luxury kind of realm of the city. So no, I like it actually.
Amazing. Have you considered to start a vegan shoe collection to go with your handbags?
There will be no exclusives during the interview. Thank you, Lila.
just going to have to follow all of the socials to find out about all of these things. That was
if you watch this space within the next 12 months, you might see some other things.
There we go. That's all you're getting. That's all you're getting. When you design your products, how much do you base it on the current market and known preferences? And how much do you introduce completely new ideas or features? Wow, that's a great question.
All right, let me break that down. So in terms of following the market, we don't follow the market. I've always really struggled with being told, I guess, what the chosen colorway is going to be for next season. It's not how we design in-house. Amschela bags are more designed on character as opposed to trends. We do kind of look at the trends slightly, but I think that is the uniqueness of Amschela, is that we don't really follow the trends. Everyone else might be putting out, I don't know, a lime green bag, and we might come with, purple. Yeah. So it's about, I think, responding to our customers and our consumers who tell us when we run surveys, what they'd like to see. So we try and really cater to the Amschela woman. And, as the entourage of Amschela women gets bigger and bigger and bigger, that's how we've decided to organically grow the brand. I think it's too easy to follow a trend, because I think, what are you really creating if you're just following the trend? I mean, that's my kind of viewpoint. And the second part of the question was introducing features. Features in what way? If they can just clarify that.
The question's been taken away now. Where's it gone? Okay, if you want to, the person who added that question, if you just wanted to pop, there it is. Thank you, whoever put that back in. How much do you introduce completely new ideas or features? So I guess that means maybe like a new element or a new, I think that's what that means.
All the time, because I think when you're designing, you're always thinking of something. For example, where I'm sitting now, I'm literally sat at my design desk, and in front of me is a huge bay window, and I could have an idea for a design, and somebody might walk past me, and they might have something on, I don't know, a shape of a hat or something that I then think, that's a good, let me try and incorporate something. So I think all the time as a designer, you're always thinking of new features and elements. But like I said, if you watch this space, the next 12 months, something really, really amazing is happening. So the brand was kind of going through another sort of transition, but I won't say too much about it. But
it all sounds really organic, and I don't just mean with the products that you use, with the types of leather you use. It sounds really organic, where you get your inspiration from. And it's really interesting what you say about the Amschela woman. You're catering to your clientele. You're not catering to the trends that pop up.
Yeah.
And I would argue, I mean, I'm no fashionista, but I would argue that's what keeps things current, is actually not following the crowd and not following the kind of, because that's how things get dated, I would assume.
I mean, for me, I just think it's too easy to, I don't know, go to fashion school or the trend predictors. So you have people like Pantone, for example, who I really do admire. Pantone every year send out the colorways. Next year's what the color is going to be for next year. And we do look at them, but if we don't feel that is the color for us, then we just don't go with it.
It doesn't dictate what you do.
No. Vogue produce every year as well. I think is the next 100 shapes, or we have a look at that. But if I don't see anything that I think relates to the Amschela woman or the brand, then we don't. We design what we think.
Amazing. So we have one last question. So if you've got any questions out there, please get them in speedy.
Right.
So if your Instagram shop hadn't been successful after the first 6 months, do you think you would have kept pushing for its success instead of going back to law?
No, I would have went back to law. I had a set period for 6 months. And if it didn't work out, we would have went back to law. But what happened during those 6 months is that we were spotted by British Vogue during the 6 months. A crazy story. And they contacted us and said, they'd seen us online and had wanted to do a feature. And I think they became very intrigued because I don't have any formal handbag experience. But again, I've been making bags since I was 6 years old. So that kind of intrigued them. And then British Vogue contacted us and we appeared, I think, in the January 2018 issue. And they said that we were, the write-up was really good. It said that we were, possibly the next handbag brand to watch. And it then all just kind of went up.
I really appreciate your honesty as well in saying, yeah, I would have done. Some people would almost kind of like see the success that they've got now and forget that fear that you would have had. But yeah, that's I really appreciate it. But it happened, and here you are, and that's amazing. Amazing. So thank you everybody for all your questions. Unfortunately, we've run out of time. I just have a few little bits and bobs today to say before we go. Firstly, massive thank you, Keri. That was so inspiring and really, really wonderful. Like, absolutely, really, really brilliant to hear all that. Keri is actually one of our really generous alumni who has donated a prize to our 30-year anniversary prize draw, celebrating the amazing enterprises that alumni like Keri have gone on to establish. And we've got a little screen coming up in a minute, so you can join. Sorry, I lost my place in my notes. Enterprises and alumni like Keri have gone on to establish the draw, and it offers 30 chances to win brilliant gifts, experiences, and vouchers. The beautiful Amschela PETA approved vegan Thais handbag. Am I saying that right? Thais handbag is, oh, my notes have gone. You've shared your screen and I can't see what I was reading. Anyway, yes, so because we've got this lovely image up now. Is that the handbag, Keri?
Yeah, that's the Thais. That is our very first vegan bag.
Wow. So you could win that, and I believe in these slides there we go, there's the QR code, so you can scan your QR code and you've got a chance to win one of these handbags amongst other wonderful prizes as well. And if you come to the talk on Friday, we will be announcing some more of the lovely prizes. So yes, thank you so much, Keri. That was absolutely fantastic. And I believe we've put links in the chat to Instagrams and all of those kinds of things. Are those the best places to keep up to date with all of your exciting news?
Yeah, I think on our website is www.amschela.co.uk. Also Instagram, our Instagram and Twitter is at Amschela. But you could also sign up to our newsletter. I think the link is on our Facebook page or in the link tree on Instagram. You do get 15% off. But also what it gives you is access to our internal blog. So we have a blog newsletter called Amschela, which was actually set up by one of our students.
Oh, great.
That came in, and it's amazing, and it gives you just little insights and inside knowledge on some other little things on the brand that some are public and yet some aren't public, and exclusives and things like that. And so, and like I said, just before I go, Amschela, we're a really open brand. So if you do follow us on Instagram, you might see me in the comments. I try to every now and then, say hi to people and things like that. And so, and for those of you in Bristol, I live in Bristol. So if you do see me around in Sainsbury's, say hi.
And how can people get in touch if they're interested or hearing about placements and the mentoring and things like you said?
Right. So if you send an email to, I think it's on our website as well, but it's inquiries@amschela.co.uk. And if you just put in the subject heading placement, it will go to one of the team.
Perfect. That's amazing. Thank you so much, Keri. And thank you so much, everybody, for joining us today. Our next talk is on Friday, and that's our last as well. And you can catch up on all the other ones. They are on the library website. So thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.